Oh, there we go. I forgot to unmute us. Here we are.
Oh.
Welcome back to the Podcast.co AMA. So as you're probably aware from the title of this one, it's a little bit different. So we're doing it podcasting for radio stations. So we're looking specifically at turning your radio show into a podcast. Me and Laura were sitting down and thinking a while ago, how are we going to do this? Who's the best person to bring in to tell us all about radio stations? And we come up with one. So here he is. Welcome to the stream. I'll unmute you. It's Phil from radio.co.
There you go. You almost made it rhyme. Welcome to the stream, Phil Dean. Nearly rhyme.
Oh, I didn't want to give away all your personal information there.
That's all right. As long as you don't give me my phone number and address, we're fine.
Well, I'll remove that bit now.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
That's all right. Thanks for taking up your pre-Halloween evening for the stream.
Well, that's all right. I was just getting ready to, unplug the doorbell and throw all the sweets away. Just make sure no one comes around. But it's all right.
Eat them for yourself.
I'll do it another day.
Yeah. All right. So I thought we'd just kick things off. I'm actually going to be dipping out of this one and just manning it from behind the scenes. So if something does go wrong, I apologise.
Blame Daryl.
Over to you guys then.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah. So, yes, as Daryl said, it's focusing on at least part of it anyway, my part about, how to turn your radio shows into podcasts, because it's a lot easier than you may actually think. So the actual plan is I'm going to take an old radio show that I recorded, turn it into a podcast. Fingers crossed if all goes well, because this is live. Laura is then going to sort of do her usual demo about how it all works, and hopefully my episode will be on there. Hopefully. We can't edit it out if it doesn't work, but we'll definitely have a go. Cool. Do you want me to just jump straight into it?
Yeah, if you jump into your side, then I'll go through my end afterwards.
Wonderful, thank you. So if you haven't seen it before, this is radio.co. So it is, the sort of sister company, I guess, of Podcast.co, where you can create your own online radio station in the easiest way absolutely possible. And we actually have an integration tool built into radio.co to accommodate Podcast.co. And through that, you can actually turn your radio shows that you've recorded live, and you can turn them into a podcast in literally minutes. It's incredibly quick and easy to do. So I'm going to jump onto my screen. So here we go. Cool. So first of all, this is the radio.co dashboard. If you've not seen it before, this is the epicenter of everything that's going on online on my online radio station. But the thing I am going to draw your attention to is in my media folder, I have recordings. Now, what these recordings are, as I said, I have recently done a live show, as you can see there, from the 6th of October, which seems like ages ago. And I scheduled myself for a live show. I set it to record, and as soon as I came off air, I had a recording of my show here. And of course, it's great. The thrill of doing live radio is hard to beat. But of course, some people can't join me live. So if only there was a way to make my show available on demand. And of course, there is a way to do that, and that's through podcasting. So what I'm going to do is take this file here, and I'm going to turn it into a podcast. And the reason why they work so well together is because, well, a podcast is essentially a radio show, just on demand, and it's a talk show. So the most important thing about that is that, of course, if you've done a radio show and it has music, then that's a big no-no, isn't it, Laura? You don't want to turn that into a podcast.
Unfortunately, yeah. So if you have a music license for your radio station, currently that will not cover you for podcasts because of the on-demand nature of them, because you can download them and fast forward and skip and stuff. So unfortunately, it doesn't cover you. But in that case, if you've got a talk show that's got bits of music in, all you'd need to do is just download the recording instead, and then just chop the bits of music out and then upload it to podcast.co. If you've got no music at all, Phil's going to show you what you can do, though.
Yeah, so I just did a talk show here. So as Laura said, if I did end up play any snippets of music, then I can just go on the actions button here and download the recording and edit bits out. But the bit I am interested in doing is here. So upload to podcast.co. Now, again, if you are thinking of having a radio.co account to record your live shows then the first thing before you can actually upload is to actually link it to your podcast.co account. So my settings here, and I'll show you in the integration section, we've got a podcast.co account here. So once I've linked my account to this, it will then allow me, as you saw, as I teased you there, to upload my file to podcast.co there. So I've got my file here. It's a 2-hour-long talk show that I want to turn into a podcast. So if I just go on the actions button and click on upload to podcast.co, and then it should open up a window like this. So it's not, I don't even need to come out of my station here. It's opened up a separate window, and you can see here, upload to podcast.co. How quick and easy was that? So now I just need to put in the information here. So this is the podcast or the network I want to actually upload to. So I just need to give it a couple of details. So we'll just call this one Phil's Test Show. That bit of a description here, as you would. So talking rubbish all the time, like always. Enjoy. I know, a nice little description of it. Because I'm a good boy, I don't swear in my radio shows, but if I did, then, I mean, a slap on the wrist, but also I'm going to slap on this explicit warning here. I'll just do that just so you can see what it would look like. And there we go. I'm now going to upload track. Just like that. And you'll see here on my radio.co account, this is showing that my upload is in progress. And, it will just take a little bit of time. It's a 2-hour-long file, so it could take a little while to upload. But, I mean, it's just as easy as that. It just takes minutes to turn your radio show that you've just come off air doing, and you can turn it into a podcast. And, of course, as soon as you come off air, uploaded it within minutes, and, over a bit of time, it will then also, as well as being on podcast.co, be available on Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, all that. So, I've come off air, and within an hour or so, couple of hours, it's available everywhere for people to listen to in the easiest way possible. And, that's how easy it can be anyway, particularly with using both radio.co and podcast.co. And look, there we go. 2-hour thing. It's either, there we go, Phil's Test Show has been uploaded like that. So that should be sitting ready for Laura to have a fiddle with shortly. But yeah, as I was saying, it's hugely beneficial to have, both kinds of mediums. Some people think, should I have a radio station? Should I have a podcast? I mean, it should be, which one do I do first? Because you should ideally have both, because it can be hugely beneficial to have both. And, if you've got podcast episodes, then why not upload them onto your radio station and create a 24-hour stream? I know a lot of podcast networks who are starting to do that. It's having a radio station is a way of having a constant 24/7 stream of your podcast episodes, just having a different way of listening to it. And through radio.co as well, you can have mobile apps so people can just all over the world listen to your constant streams of your podcasting. And of course, if you've got a podcast, then why not record yourself doing a show and you've got content there for your podcast? So, they're hugely beneficial to have together. So yeah, it shouldn't be a decision of one or the other. It should be, have both.
Exactly.
There we go.
Awesome.
Easy peasy.
So I think I'm going to take over and I'll do a full run through of a podcast.co account like normal, because we are doing a normal demo of that today as well. But we'll be able to see if Phil's 2-hour-long little show ended up in my lovely account. So if I could have my account up on the screen. Wonderful, like magic. Thank you, Daryl. He's doing good, isn't he? He's all right. So when you do send a show over from your radio.co station to your podcast.co account, because you may have typed something in a little bit wrong or anything like that, just as a safety net, it will go into your Unlisted section. And there it is. Look, Phil's Test Show. It's processing currently because it's quite a big file. But it's in there, and we've got the title, and we should have the description. If I go into edit here, there we go. Talking rubbish all the time, like always. And yeah, so it'll go into the Unlisted section for now. And what that means is it's not publicly available yet. So all you need to do when you come up in here is wait for that to process. So if I just give that a quick refresh, hopefully it's gone through. If not, I can show you on one of the other episodes. Oh no, there we go. So it's all done. You can see the little time code here. So that means it's all finished processing on our end. So all you do from here to publish it is you click these little 3 dots over here and then publishing options there. And then you've got when you want the episode to go live. So if you just want it to go out straight away and be available right away for everybody, you'd leave it on public and click publish episode, and that'll publish it straight away. Otherwise, if you click on this little drop down, you've got scheduled here, and that'll take you through to this little section here with a couple of different presets. Or you can select a custom publishing date even from the calendar. So say I wanted this to go live on Tuesday at midday. I could do that and then click schedule episode, and that will go live by itself without me having to touch anything at all, which is quite nice if you want to just schedule up a bunch of episodes and leave it running in the background. Or I could just leave it in the unlisted section, but we do want to send it out to people. So we'll set it for the 3rd of November at 12 p.m. and click schedule. And then you can see it's gone from my little unlisted section. But if I go into the scheduled section here, there it is, November 3rd, 12 p.m. and that'll go out by itself. So that's just a quick run through of how you would tie the 2 accounts together. But what I'll do now is I'll just take you on a really quick sort of whiz through my little demo account I've got here so you can see everything that Podcast.co has to offer. Just a quick one, if you do want to find out more about Radio.co, they actually do have their own version of these little live streams that you can see. I'm not sure, Phil, when is that exactly?
Well, I'm doing one next week, which is actually aimed at education, really, because a growing trend in radio at the moment and podcasting, I guess, is using these mediums as a way of educating, seeing that, we're absent from schools and studios. So I'm actually doing kind of a niche spin-off, really, covering education things. But usually it's at the start of each month, so I'll be doing another proper full run-through, maybe at the start of December anyway. But yeah, pop over on Wednesday the 4th, at the same time as this one, Wednesday the 4th, and check it out then.
Amazing. So yeah, if you do want to find out more about Radio.co after you've seen this one, head over to their YouTube channel, which is just Radio.co, and you'll be able to find everything there. And then you can subscribe as well, and you'll get a notification when the next live stream is due for those guys. So moving back to Podcast.co here. So what I'll do, take you through this account. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll be addressing those at the end. So first off, we got this little home screen here, and this just gives you an idea of what's going on with your podcast at a very quick glance. So you've got how many episodes you've got live currently, your monthly downloads and monthly unique downloads. So the difference between those two, monthly downloads here is every single download that your podcast has had over the last 30 days. And monthly unique downloads is every single person that's downloaded an episode. So for example, if I were to download an episode of your podcast 4 times in a row, for whatever reason, total would show that as 4, but unique would show that as 1, because I'm one person downloading 1 episode. So that's kind of how that works. You've also got a graph over here on the right that gives you an estimate of how many subscribers your podcast likely has. So this is based on the unique downloads for the last 3 episodes, and it generates an average download number from that on the basis that if someone is downloading every single episode, they're probably subscribed to your podcast. So it works out an average based on that and gives you a pretty decent guess at how many subscribers your podcast is looking at. When you first start out, you'll also have a little checklist at the bottom here. Normally, that just gives you an idea of what you need to be looking at doing next. And each step has a little video of me explaining what each one means. Once you've ticked all 3 of those off, you get these 3 little boxes instead. So you get a link through to our free crash course. You can sign up for that at any point. It's completely free. You can find that on the website at podcast.co/crash course, all one word. A link through to our production services. So as well as hosting, we also do offer recording services and editing services, you name it really. So that's just a quick link through to check out that and see what we have on offer. And we also have a link through to our help center, just in case you get stuck with anything. You can access that, and we've got a bunch of help guides available ready to help you out. On a normal account as well, you would also have a little chat icon in the bottom right of your account, and that gets through to our support desk. at any time. So if you've got a question at any time or you need some advice, you can just leave us a message on there and either myself or someone else will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Episodes tab next. So this is probably where you'd be spending the majority of your time. And I did kind of show you this briefly before when we were going over the radio.co integration. But this is basically where all of your podcast episodes will live. So if you're just uploading an episode not through radio.co, you would click and drag the file into this window and it will start uploading. Or you can click this orange upload episode button right here. That'll open up your file finder and then you can find the file that way and upload it that way. Once it's uploaded, you will get this little window here. And this is kind of what you did on the radio.co side of things 2 seconds ago, but it's just doing it in podcast.co instead. So you just type in the title of the episode, the description, you can change the type. So if you've got a trailer that you want to put up, you can actually mark it as a trailer. And some directories, for example, Spotify and Amazon Music now, are both doing this. They separate the trailer out to the side of your podcast in the display on there or to the top. So people can listen to that first and see if they want to continue listening. So it's a pretty good thing to do. Full is normal. So most of the time you'll be leaving it as that. Episode number, season number if you're using seasons. If not, you can just leave that blank. And a content rating, again, like Phil said, if you've got a couple of swear words in there, just chuck that on and you'll be completely fine. And then once you've filled in all the information about your episode, you will have the final window that I showed you before, which is just deciding when you want your episode to go live. So you've got live straight away, scheduled for a specific time and date, and the unlisted section, which I mentioned before. So it's pretty straightforward. Then you've got a couple of buttons just over here on the right as well. So share episode gives you a couple of different extra bits for sharing your episode out with your audience. So the player is for if you have an external website and you want to embed individual episodes onto a page. This works pretty well for if you've got a blog style website maybe, and you want to embed an individual episode to the top of your blog post that talks about it in a bit more depth or has an interview, for example. You just click copy embed there and then paste that into the code of your website where you need it to sit. Page is the direct link to the episode on a web page that we provide you guys with. I'll be showing you that in more detail a bit later on, but just know that that's a direct link to this individual episode. And Audiogram is possibly one of my favorite things that we have. So this is our integration with Headliner, which is an awesome tool. It's super powerful, and it basically allows you to make sort of graphic style videos of your podcast content, which is super handy for making little promotional videos before episodes go live, picking out some of those more interesting clips from your episodes and popping those up on social media so people can listen to them in advance and generate some interest, or even running the entire episode through it so you can put it up on YouTube. That works too. So it's definitely worth opening up and having a little play around with. Episode analytics over here. Now, mine are going to show pretty low because this podcast isn't public. So yours will be a lot better than this, I'm sure. But as you can see, we've got this little date range selector here. You've got a couple of presets at the top, or you can select a custom range by clicking a start and end date on the calendar. The top graph shows you your total and unique downloads per day during the period you've got selected. And the two down the bottom show where your listeners are coming from in the world and what platform they're using to listen. You can hover over these to get an actual percentage as well. And on the end here, you've just got a couple of extra bits. So edit just brings up that window again, so you can change anything that you need to change if you need to adjust anything. Replace media is the second one. That's basically if you accidentally upload the wrong audio file or a draft version, for example, you can come in here, select the correct audio file and upload that without having to take the whole episode down and re-upload it. Move to Unlisted is exactly what it sounds like. It just moves the episode into the Unlisted section. And the transcription feature also lives in here. So if you want to generate a transcript of your podcast episode, you can come in here, select the language of the main speaker, and then click continue. And normally what that will do is that will process for a little bit of time, probably for like a normal 30 to 40 minute podcast episode, you're looking at about 20 to 30 minutes of processing time max. So leave it to do its thing, come back, click on transcription again. If it's still processing through it, then it'll come up with a little loading thing just saying it's still working on it. If it's all done, it'll bring up the full transcript of the episode, and you'll be able to use that however you see fit. So it's just an easier way of getting a transcript together of your episodes. There is also a download option in here as well if you need to download a backup copy of any of your episodes too. So that's that tab. Analytics I will whiz through because it's pretty much the same as the episode analytics I showed you before, but this time for the whole podcast. So let me select a better date range. There we go. So you've got the same date range selector up here, exactly the same as before. Same graph at the top that shows your total and unique downloads per day. And the same two down the bottom that show the locations of your listeners and what platform they're using to listen. But you also get an extra one over here on the left that shows you your most popular episodes for that period you've got selected. And that'll show your top 5. We are going to be expanding that a little bit later, either this year or early next year, to show the top 10 instead as well. So that'll be nice. You'll have more range on that. Settings is, again, pretty straightforward. This is just if you need to adjust anything to do with the main podcast itself, you can do that in here. So if you need to update the artwork or update the description a little bit or anything like that, you can make all of those changes in here. And if your podcast's already live on platforms like Apple and Spotify, any changes you make here will roll out to those platforms in 24 to 48 hours usually. Advanced settings is the section that we recommend you come to as soon as you've set your podcast up, before you even think about publishing your first episode. Just come in here and make sure things are set up, because there's a few things in here that are commonly missed and they can cause issues if they are missed. So the main culprit all the time is this time zone selector. If this is not matching your time zone, the scheduling will be completely out for you. I've made that mistake before myself. I wanted to publish an episode at 8 a.m. UK time, and I left this in an American time zone by accident, and it went out at like 2 a.m. or something. So it's worth just coming and double checking that that matches up, so you don't make that mistake as well. Making sure these little author settings are filled in as well. If these aren't filled in, what the system will do is it will pull in the account owner's name and email. And what that will do is on Spotify, for example, underneath the podcast where it shows who made the podcast, it will show your name. So if you need that to be a company name or something different, just make sure that that's filled in. And the email only appears on your RSS feed, but it is what potential sponsors and things like that will tend to contact you by. So it's just worth making sure that that's set up to whatever email you want to receive those types of emails at. And then just making sure these little content settings match up as well. Otherwise, Apple Podcast does tend to throw a little bit of a hissy fit. So just making sure these match up either episode by episode or in seasons, what language your podcast is in, and whether your podcast is clean or explicit in nature. If you're only going to have a few episodes, you think here and there that might have swear words in occasionally, mark the individual episodes as explicit and leave this as clean. If you think it's going to be pretty much every single episode, just mark the whole thing as explicit and save yourself some time. On the business plan, you do also have this little switch here, which enables you to turn our Podcast.co logos and branding off on the embeddable players and the podcast pages, which I'm going to show you in a sec. So if you want our logos gone, you will need to be on the business plan, and then you just turn that little slider off and it gets rid of them. And finally, down the bottom here, this little box allows you to connect up third-party analytics services if you want more analytics for your podcast. So things like Chartable and Podtrack are two of the most popular options. They usually give you a little tiny link that you need to connect to your RSS feed. So all you do is you just pop the link in there, click Save Changes, and that'll apply it, and they'll be able to pull in all the data that they need to be able to get to show you. If you are on the Pro plan and above, this is brand new. So what this allows you to do here is it allows you to apply a standardized intro and outro for your podcast. So this can be used for sponsorship messages. If you have a sponsor and you want to share that at the beginning and end of your podcast, you can record that separately. You upload it into here by clicking browse, selecting the file, and then upload. And then when you upload an episode, you'll have a little switch on the window where you enter the title and description and all of that information. There'll be a little extra switch for you to turn on pre and post roll. So you just turn that on and it will apply whatever is in this section to the beginning and end of your podcast episodes. And it just makes it a little bit easier than you having to go in and edit the sponsorship message on all the time. So it just saves you some time there. And the share and publish section, this is usually where I get quite a lot of questions. So if you do have any, feel free to leave them in the comments. Like I said, we'll get back to those at the end. But for now, just to run through it for you guys, you do have two different options here. So if you want to manage the whole distribution process yourself, you can totally do that. You just click, I prefer to manage this myself. That collapses away. And then you've got your RSS feed link right here. And you have a bunch of boxes down the bottom for you to pop the links into your podcast on the different platforms once you get them back. And a link to our help guides as well, just in case you get stuck or you need a bit of assistance with that process of sharing your podcast out there. However, if you would like us to take over, which most people do because it's handy, you can click distribute my podcast right here, and that will send a request to our submissions team. You can also see it says submissions pending up here in orange. Once our submissions team has picked up your request, pardon me, you'll get an email update just saying that they've started working on that. All these icons here start grayed out like these ones that you can see here. And as they submit your podcast to the different platforms and they get the approvals back and they add those links in for you, they will change to colored in like these ones. And you can see I've got a copy and an open option. So I can copy the link really easily, or I can open the podcast on that platform and just check it out and make sure it's all okay. So you can watch the progress in here pretty easily just by looking at which ones are colored in. Once the team have submitted your podcast everywhere and they're just waiting to hear back from the platforms, you'll get a second email update just saying, we've finished what we need to do. We're just waiting for everybody else. And then you'll get a final email update once the whole thing is done with all of the links on it, just saying, we finished, here's all your links. And you'll be able to come in here at any point as well and grab those like I showed you here really easily. That whole process, we do advise, can take up to a week. So just bear that in mind. A lot of them will be live within 24 hours, but the main culprits tend to be Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts that do take the longest. So just to make you aware, the initial submissions process can take up to a week. But once you're listed everywhere, any new episodes you upload after that point will be live everywhere within 24 hours. So you only have to do that once. It's not every single time you upload an episode. Next thing in here is the podcast player. So this is the other player with all the episodes on it instead of the individual players I showed you before. So again, you've got the embed code at the top here. Really easy. Just click copy and then paste that onto your website where you want it to sit. And it looks a little something like this. So you can see I've got both of my little episodes on there. You can change between a dark and a light theme, and you can change the color of the buttons on there to whatever you'd like using the color selector. And you can change between squared off and rounded off buttons too. You can also turn downloads, sharing, and subscriptions on or off depending on what you want. Most people leave all three of those on, to be honest. There's not too many reasons you'd want to switch those off. Just a note on that, actually, because I have had a few radio people ask me before. It does not matter if you switch downloads off on the player, if you are still submitting to places like Apple and Spotify, etc., just because people will still be able to download your content from those third-party platforms. So licensing would still not cover you if you have music on your podcast, unfortunately, in that instance. So while that might help with your own website, it won't help with keeping you up on Apple and Spotify, unfortunately. Podcast page is the web page that we provide you with for your podcast. So I'll show you this example one that I've got set up. But just to let you guys know, the podcast pages are getting a massive update within the next week or so. So they're going to look drastically different, and they're going to have quite a lot of functionality added as well. So I'll go through that as I'm going through this example page here. But for now, you can see they've got this header image in the background where this purple waveform is. That can be changed to be whatever you like. We've got the size guidelines for that in the help center as well. So anything you like back there. If you've got the name of your podcast on the image, you're obviously not going to want this little text overlay on top of that. So you can turn that off in the customization options as well, so you haven't got that overlaid on top. The subscribe button here rolls down and shows all the options for where your podcast is live at. So that's pretty handy for people who want to subscribe on a particular platform. They can select it there. Share podcast gives people a few ways of sharing your podcast out. So we've got Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, email, and we put the link down here as well, just in case we missed any that they want to share it to. You can connect up some donation buttons over here on the left. Here I've got PayPal connected up. You can also connect up a Patreon link. So if you've got a Patreon set up for your podcast and you want people to be able to click through and donate really easy, you can connect that up there too. We're also looking at connecting up Ko-fi here as well, or Ko-fi, or however you say that. That's going to be an option in the future as well. You can connect up some social media on the right. So people can click through and follow you really easily over there and get all the latest updates. And you have a list of the episodes below and the description of your podcast. And if someone clicks on an episode to listen, they get a play and a download option. They also get the description of the podcast. I haven't got one applied to this episode, but normally that would sit right there. And they also encourage to keep listening by being shown the next episode down here as well. So you can rack up those download numbers a little bit. So that's just how they stand at the moment. With the new update, they will look pretty different. They're going to look a lot sleeker, in my opinion. And also, you'll have a couple of extras. So if you're on the Pro plan and above, you will have the option to add in a little section about the host of the podcast. So you can write a bit about who you are. And I think you can add your social media to that as well. So you can have separate social media for the podcast and yourself. And you'll also have the option to add in photos and videos into episode descriptions as well, which is going to be pretty cool. So there's a lot of added functionality coming. I think you're getting the ability to add Google Analytics to the page as well, so you can track traffic on your page too, which will be interesting. And then the final thing here is the Embeddable subscribe button. So this is for if you have an external website and you want a nice, neat little button that people can subscribe to your podcast on. So you've got the embed code at the top, as always, really easy. You can choose between a dark and a light theme for the button, and you can change the color of the word subscribe to whatever you'd like. And then you can select up to 5 directories your podcast is live in. And when someone comes to this button on your website, they want to subscribe. On hover, it'll show those 5 options, 4 in this case. And they can click through and subscribe to whichever one is the best option for them. And it's just a little bit neater than having loads and loads of subscribe here buttons all over your website as well. So that's a really quick rundown of how a normal account would work with us. Just to quickly go over it, if you are a radio station that has, say, like multiple shows on it and you want to set up a podcast for each of your shows, because we do get that quite a lot. We do offer network accounts as well. So the Pro and Business account are 2 examples. Pro gives you the ability to have up to 20 podcasts hosted on one account. And the business plan is unlimited. So it's worth checking both of those out if you want to have multiple podcasts, like one for each show. And in that case, it would look a little something like this once you've added all those in. So you can see I've got a few different ones here. And I can just click through to the one that I want to work on really easy. And then if you need to switch between them, you've got a little drop down here as well. So you can switch between all of these really, really easily and quickly. You can also add people to those accounts as well. So if you want a certain host of a certain show to be able to manage their own show on the account, you can add them to the account so they can manage their own show. But you can also then restrict their access so they can't access anybody else's shows, just in case they're crashing around the account and they accidentally hit something they're not supposed to. So that's pretty useful and could help you guys out as well. So that's pretty much it for my section, actually.
Oh, well, I very much enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, Phil.
But it's, like I say, it's such an intuitive platform. It's just basically everything's there that you could ever need to, to launch your podcast on. It's just right there. There's no real better. Yeah, there's no better alternative really. It's such a clean, easy, innovative sort of thing. And yeah, the fact you can just put little pictures and videos of yourself on it and stuff. It's, and of course things like audiogram stuff. It's awesome. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think you do get a lot for what you pay. So I noticed we had quite a few questions that were coming in during all of that. So I think we'll start going through a few of those. The first one I can see here is, do I need to have different accounts? Yes, you do. So radio.co and podcast.co operate as two separate platforms. So you will need an account on each. However, we do operate a 10% discount for if you do get both to work alongside each other. So if you've got both accounts, just let us know and we'll be able to apply that for you. So yes, you do need both an account on both. But they connect together very well, as you just saw.
Yeah, very, very quickly, very seamless. But yeah, just let us know if you sign up for both, and yeah, we'll sort you out good.
Yeah. So another one from Goal for All: how much do I need to pay for a podcast per month? So that depends on which plan you're on. So the lowest one, our starter plan, is $29 per month or $290 per year if you want to pay for the year in advance. So you get a bit of a discount with the yearly. You pay 10 months worth instead of the full 12, and that's permanent. That's not just for like the first year or anything. So that's pretty nice. But the next one above that is the Pro plan. That one is $49 per month or $490 per year, and you get slightly more room on that one. And then the business is the top end of what we offer, and that one is $99 per month or $990 per year. And that is the unlimited one that I talked about, where you get unlimited podcasts on there. So if you've got quite a big lot of shows that you need to get in, that's going to be the best option for you.
I guess the next question is kind of aimed at me, this one. So will you guys be adding a live studio platform for podcast recording? It is possible. It's through radio.co really is the platform for doing that, so even though it's out of podcast.co and into my domain, radio.co, with that, as I said, you can schedule live shows to record, and then as soon as you do, you're then uploading them as a podcast then. So it's a platform to do anything you want live. You can broadcast live for as long as you want. And as soon as you finish, you can then just mix it down and publish it as a podcast. So yeah, if you are looking at a really intuitive platform for recording live podcasts, then yeah, radio.co is how to go about it.
100%. So is it Craig? Oh, I'm going to get that surname wrong. Craig Sibbett. I'm sorry if I completely butchered your surname. If I'm on another platform now, do I need to pay to have my content moved over, or do I even need to? So if you wanted to move over to us, you would obviously need to pay for the account, depending on what subscription level you're on. But there's no fee for moving your podcast over from another host to podcast.co. So all that is if you wanted to do that, if I can have my screen up quickly, I can actually show how that would work. Daryl, if you could do that really quick. Thank you. So when you create an account with us, you first log in, you get two different options. So if you're importing from another host, all you need to do is just click import podcast settings here, and then pop your existing RSS feed into this box. I might have an example one here. Let's use that one. like that, and then it brings up the title, the episode's description, cover image, and all of that, so you can check it's all okay. And then you just hit import, and that will import that into your account really easy. And then all you need to do after that is just apply a redirect to your old RSS feed with your old hosting platform. But if you need any help with that, we have a guide for pretty much every major podcast hosting platform available in our help center, or you can reach out to us, and either myself or someone will be able to help with applying that redirect, because I know that can get a little bit confusing. But that's basically the process. Just stick your old RSS feed in and then contact us about a redirect, and we'll see if we can send over a step-by-step for you.
But yeah, the process in general is so quick and easy, because I did it myself with my podcast. So I was on another platform. Then when I switched over to Podcast.co, yeah, it's as simple as that. And I had I think I've got about 100 episodes or something. And yeah, it just transferred over in no time at all. And it was, yeah, really, really painless. So yeah, easy to do.
Boom. So we have someone saying, I'm going to read this as it's written. I'm going crazy trying to get a license so I can play music in my podcast. I have visited dozens of sites, even BMI, I don't know that one, SESAC, I've not heard of that one, etc. And no luck. Please, can you help me? Unfortunately, no. Licensing for podcasts just isn't there yet. It doesn't exist, which is probably why you're going crazy trying to find one that works. There, to my knowledge anyway, there is no licensing currently available that works for on-demand content. I've had a couple of people send over BMI licenses in the past, but if you do look through the terms of those licenses, it does usually say it doesn't cover on-demand content, or interactive content is how they word it sometimes, which basically means any content that you can download or skip through. So unfortunately, it's not available just yet, but hopefully we'll have a solution sometime in the future, and then it'll all work out and you can all come over with your music podcasts as well. So we have Tumelo. Oh gosh, these surnames. I'm going to butcher so many names. I'm so sorry. Tumelo Boroboko. What are the necessary basic equipments and software to start a podcast? So, I mean, this kind of runs into radio as well, because you need the same sort of basic equipment pretty much, which is a microphone, headphones, and that's pretty much it, and radio.co for a radio station. So as long as you have a microphone and some headphones, you're pretty much good to go. So you can see Phil's lovely setup there. That is on the more expensive end, I believe, because that looks like a Shure 7. What? Oh god, the microphone's gone. SM7B. I was like, it's got a 7 in it. A Shure SM7B. So that is on the more sort of pricey end. I'm currently working with, I don't think I can show you, but it's down here, a little tiny USB mic. So it doesn't really matter when you're first getting started. I would probably say if you're on a budget, go with something like this. That's a little USB mic. You can just plug into the computer USB port, and whatever headphones you have lying around. Like I'm using the ones that came with my phone currently. It's not a perfect solution, but it's definitely something you can use to get you started. And then when you've worked yourself up a bit more, you can move on to something like Phil's setup, which is Boss, and I want it.
I'm not exactly like Flash. This was a 30th birthday present, so it wasn't. I didn't even pay for it. I just asked for it very nicely. But you were just saying about like budgeting, like don't take budgeting, I guess, too seriously in the sense of you don't have to by all means spend a ton of money on microphones. Like I think, for example, this goes for about £350.
Something like that.
But you by no means need to get something really expensive. And on the opposite end, you don't need to get something really, really cheap, because at the end of the day, if your microphone is cheap and makes you sound terrible, doesn't matter how good your content is, you will sound terrible. And there's nothing worse than trying to listen to a podcast where everyone just sounds awful and tinny and so do budget, but also budget realistically. Like, I always advise people when they ask me about microphones for radio, and the same will apply for podcasting, is, a good USB microphone. You can get really nice ones for probably upwards about £70, something like that, £70, $100 or so. Some really good ones like Rode do a ton, and, their USB microphones are incredible. I owned one in the past before this one. And things like Blue and obviously Shure do a lot of ones, and there's just tons available. So do watch your pennies a little bit, because you don't need to spend a lot, but also do keep in mind that the more you pay, generally speaking, the better you will sound. So yeah, I'd say about £70, £80 to about $100 around that price point is a good point for a really, really nice budget microphone, in my opinion anyway.
No, I completely agree. And actually, you mentioned Blue there. The Blue Yeti is actually a really popular starting option, and that sits about that price point. But again, that's a USB mic. You just plug it into the computer and it's ready to go. It's super easy to work with, and the audio quality is pretty decent for a USB mic. So if you need an actual name of a starter microphone, the Blue Yeti is usually a decent choice. A lot of people use that when they're first getting started.
Yeah, I had the Rode NT USB, and they've also made the NT USB Mini as well.
They have,
earlier this year. So I had one of those as well, and they were really, really good, about the same price point as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. They're I had a play around with the mini one when we got that in the office just before it closed for all of this, and yeah, it was really nice, really, really nice. Software wise, again, it depends. A lot of people just use Audacity, which, to be honest, works really well, and it's completely free to download. I have heard from a couple of people it's had a couple of issues on certain iOS versions. I don't remember if that's been sorted yet or not. So if you are having trouble with Audacity on whatever iOS you're on, just switch over to using GarageBand and you'll be completely fine. That's usually included with a lot of Macs these days, to be honest. So I'd go with something like that. My personal preference is Adobe Audition, but I do know that comes with the subscription fee, so not everybody wants to use it. But there are more mastering and customization options on there. So really, it depends on the level of editing you're wanting to do to your audio as to which program you go with. But if you're just looking for something to get started with, I'd definitely say Audacity is the best way to go, because it's free and it does everything you need it to do. So
yeah, that's what I do mine on. I also had SoundForge as well. Is not too expensive, and it has a really nice crossfading feature for editing as well. So that's the two that I recommend using.
I would also say, actually, just thinking about it, because the whole pandemic situation and everybody staying cooped up in their houses, if you're looking to do remote interviews, that's slightly different. So the software I'd recommend for that is something like, what's the ones we use? Riverside.fm. We use CleanFeed, Zencaster. Those sorts of platforms where you can just invite people to a room, and then you all sit in the room and it records the room. You can use things like Zoom and Google Meet, but sometimes on there the audio quality can take a dive, just because it's trying to record the video as well, and they're not built for that. They're more built for making a rough recording so you can take notes of the meeting afterwards. Things like Zencaster in particular has mastering that gets applied automatically after you finish recording, which is quite nice. So I definitely look at a few options like that if you're looking at doing remote interviews.
And Radio.co as well does that as well.
Radio.co does do that as well. You have a point.
We have a talk feature available in our Gold and our Pro plans, and it does exactly what Laura said there. It's a great way of having remote people involved in a podcast, or a pre-recorded radio show. They would just connect through the computer. They'd follow an invitation link, and they'll just sound just as if they were in the same room as you, just through their own microphones and such. So that will let you record up to a 60-minute show. That's another really convenient way of recording a podcast remotely.
Yeah. So, what is the best practice when turning my radio show into a podcast?
The best practice, to be honest, it's there isn't really like a right or wrong way for turning radio show into podcast. Essentially, I mean the rule that we mentioned before is it shouldn't contain music. Really, it's podcasting should just be a solidly talk-based platform. So if you've just got a talk-based show, you've got guests or listeners involved and stuff, then that is, that's fundamentally a podcast. It's ready to go. It doesn't matter what form it necessarily takes, because it's engaging as both a live talk show, and if it was good as a live show, it's going to be just as good as an on-demand. So yeah, because they're the same thing, really. A radio show is just a live version of a podcast. So whatever you're doing right with your podcast, it will be the exact same thing as a radio show. So not really an answer to that question, because there isn't really an answer to it. It's just to do with it's if you're good at making podcasts, you'll be good at making talk radio shows, and vice versa. So whatever you think makes a good show will make a good podcast.
Exactly. So I am just going to steal probably the last 10 minutes of this just to go through another platform that we have that's available, which is Matchmaker, because we do need to pay a little bit of respect to Matchmaker, because it's growing very, very well. So Daryl, if I can have my screen back up, I will go through that with you guys. So this platform is completely free to sign up to. And it's basically a way for, if you're a podcast, you are able to sign up with your podcast and find some really cool guests to get onto your podcast for some interviews and some content, or vice versa. If you are a person that wants to be on podcasts to promote yourself, for example, or just to have a chat, then you can sign up on here and you can search through and find some interesting podcasts to apply to appear on as well. So it's super, super simple to use. So simple. So for instance, if I wanted to find a podcast I wanted to appear on, I can click find a show up the top here. And then you can see we've got all these different shows down here. But if I wanted to narrow it down a bit, I can use these filters here. So let's say I wanted to talk about books, because I've been reading some pretty cool books over lockdown. And I want them to be in the United Kingdom, just time zone, make it a bit easier on them, in English, because I unfortunately don't know any other languages. And I can hide unavailable profiles as well, so I can make sure everybody that I see is actually available. And if I apply those filters, it'll filter some people out. So there you go. And now I can see all these people that want people that are available to talk about books. So let's say I wanted to be on this one, reading in bed. There we go. I can click on them. I can see when they were last active. I can see where they're based out of. So they're actually based out of Manchester, which is where we're based out of. So that's pretty handy. And I can see a bit of a description about the podcast. I can also see they've got a button here so I can check the podcast out, see what it's all about. And if I don't really want to apply to it yet, but I'll think about it later on, I can actually click add to favorites here. And then if I go to favorites up the top here, it should be in my little list. There it is. So I can access it really easy again. And once I'm ready to appear on the show, I can click contact show here. And I can leave them a little message. Just type something in there and click contact show, and that will send. And hopefully they'll get back to me and they'll say I can get on their show. And then vice versa. So say I was a podcast and I wanted to find a really cool guest for my podcast. I can click on find a guest at the top here. And you can see, again, we've got a list of lovely people. But I need to narrow that down. So we'll go in here and we'll say my podcast is about language learning, because I'd love to learn some more languages. And again, I need them to be in the United Kingdom, and I need the podcast to be in English, ideally. There we go. And again, we'll hide unavailable profiles, just so I can make sure I can get on as soon as possible. And there we go. So we've got some here. So if I click on, we'll go with the first one there. There we go. And again, I can see when they were last live, what languages they speak, where they're based, all the lovely things they want to talk about. And I can see a little bit of a description, and she's got some links connected up here so I can check out some of her social media and her website. And I can also see some bits over here on the left too. So they're available remotely, and they have a built-in microphone and a webcam, and they're available on weekdays. So yeah, and then once I want to contact them, I can click contact and select a show. I don't have any shows set up on my account, but normally you'd select your podcast and type out a message and click contact, and then hopefully they'll be back in touch with you. So it's really easy to navigate, super duper easy to get set up and on the way. And when you want to check your messages as well, that's just over here on messages, and you can see who messaged you last and open up some of those messages and have a read through and reply to some people. So super duper easy to use. On your profiles as well, if I just get James's up, because I know he's got everything set up on his. Got to spell his surname then, don't tell him. There he is. So as you can see on James's profile here, he's got pretty much everything set up. So he's even got a little video here. So if I click that, hopefully it won't play the audio blasting out. But there you go. He's got a little video introducing himself that I can watch if I want to find out more about how he speaks and things like that. And he's got a lovely bio set up. He's got a YouTube video in there. So you can really get creative with how you customize your profile as well. So like I said, that is completely free to sign up for, but we do actually have a paid plan on there now, which is $49.50 per year. And what that gets you is that gets you unlimited conversations per month, so you can talk as much as you want. You can have the video profile pitch that's included on that one, so you don't get that one on the free plan, pardon me. You get unlimited favorite lists, so those lists can be as long as you want. And I believe you get pumped up to the top of the searching lists. So you'll be one of the first people at the top of those lists. Access to brand new features on release, so you don't have to wait around for those, and a lot more. So that does exist. It's kind of worth paying for, actually, I would say. So definitely I'd try it out on the free plan. And then if you really, really like it, definitely look at getting that paid plan, because it gives you so much. It gives you so much extra, and your profile could look as snazzy as James's here. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about Matchmaker there. Thank you, Daryl, for that. Cool. Did we get any more questions while that was all going on? If anybody has any questions about Matchmaker as well, feel free to ask. I did just see a comment from someone I've been speaking to recently. Daniel, I'm not going to try and pronounce your surname because I've already butchered too many surnames today. But I can see you put best customer service teams I've ever worked with. So that's both of us.
That's it. That's it. We have had both dealings with Daniel. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Daniel. That's lovely.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
We mentioned about Daniel there as well. Is he's a customer of both Radio.co and Podcast.co.
Yeah.
Really enjoying sort of the benefits of both, because they are such great mediums for each medium, but also together they work so wonderfully well hand in hand. So yeah, consider signing up for both.
Fab. Well, I think that's it for questions, and we've shown you around all three platforms. If you do want to find out anything else about Radio.co, like I said, they do a version of these live stream demos, so you can catch that over on their YouTube channel. Just make sure you're subscribed. You'll get the notifications whenever those go up. He's shaking his finger at you, so you better do it. And if you want to find out anything more about Podcast.co, you can obviously come along to another one of these, or you can get in contact with us either on our website at Podcast.co and then click the little chat bubble in the bottom right, or by emailing help@Podcast.co or hello@Podcast.co, and those will get through to either myself or someone else on the team, and we'll be able to get back to you when we can. Daryl is telling me to say goodbye from him, so Daryl would love to say goodbye to you all. And Phil, where can they reach Radio.co if they have any questions?
Well, our website, Radio.co. You can you can book demos, you can find all our videos and guides there. But if you want to reach out to me, which I'm quite friendly, I'm all right. You can send me an email, studio@radio.co. That'll come to me, have a chat, find out what it's about, and like I said, you can book a demo and watch my demonstration. It's a little bit different, but it is going to still be covering the basics of using Radio.co on Wednesday the 4th at 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.
Awesome. So thanks very much for joining us, and there'll be another one of these next month, just in case you want to see another one, why not? And until then, have a lovely Halloween period. Spooky.
Hey, before you go anywhere, I have a quick question for you. Do you have a podcast? And if you do you want to book more interesting, high-profile guests on your show? Well, if you answered yes to either of these questions, I'd love to invite you to come and join our community over at matchmaker.fm. Matchmaker is a service that connects awesome podcasts just like yours with incredible and high-profile guests that make for really interesting conversations. It's really straightforward to get started and completely free to sign up. Just connect using your LinkedIn, Facebook or Google account, and then you can begin connecting with guests based on their area of expertise, location, and much more. If you haven't checked it out already, go to matchmaker.fm, get started. It's just like Tinder, but for podcasts.